Hi there. Today I'm chatting with Adriana. Good to have you here, Adriana.
Kia ora, thank you very much.
Nice to see you. Adriana is the president of Auckland University's Law Student Society, and it's great to have you here to chat about the future of law. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Apologies for the noise in the background. The alarm clock's just gone off in the back.
That's all
Great
good.
timing.
It's like real practical ways to work within COVID, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Kind of on topic for today, isn't it?
Exactly. So look, I'm sure you've seen and heard, over the past sort of few years, law's starting to change and morph, isn't it? And of course, this year, goodness, who'd have thought we'd had COVID, we've had all sorts of things get thrown in. I mean, what do you think about where it might move to and predictions over the next couple of years from your perspective and, the students and the people that you are around?
Yeah, well, I think this year's been huge in terms of setting a direction for law in general. I think a lot of change has been made across the industry in terms of the digital solutions to a lot of problems. And I think a lot of firms and just in general, a lot of places in the industry were starting to move there, and those that had already were probably in a better position come COVID-19 this year. And then those that weren't probably had to quickly adapt. So I think we can probably predict that we'll see that become more of a permanent change going into the future rather than just a quick solution at the moment.
Yeah, look, absolutely, you're right. I think for many, on one level, kind of there was an expectation it would happen, didn't it? But as you said, I think what COVID did was brought it really immediately into the forefront.
Definitely, yeah. And I think a lot of workplaces that I've people who I've talked to in the workplace that kind of said that a lot of the, I guess, solutions that have come out of COVID-19 are quite positive in terms of lifestyle for a lot of people. So I think that those will be taken into account going forward, regardless of whether or not we see lockdowns in the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess with that, doesn't there come some challenges? So perhaps your thoughts, what do you see some of the challenges for, I guess, law students as well, but equally the law profession?
Yeah. Well, I think, lots of law students, I think there's the element of community is very hard to, I guess, replicate in this situation. I know a lot of the law presidents and myself, we have been trying to incorporate initiatives that continue to build on that sense of community and connection with students, but it is a lot harder not being on campus. And I think a lot of students are missing out on that through remote learning. And I think that kind of it flows on into their academic performance a lot of the time as well. Like the support networks aren't there as they were in person. So I think, it's going to take a lot of adjustment going forward. But then there's also the kind of countermeasure of having, I know in Auckland, a lot of students commute quite a lot to uni. Not that many students live that close to the university campus. So I think for many people, it's taken away that those, that kind of time is money element where you're commuting an hour and a half each way to uni, and you've got more time to do things at home, and you're not spending $10 a day on the bus and whatnot. So I think, it definitely has its positives and its disadvantages as well. But I think that sense of community is the biggest loss for a lot of students.
Yeah, I agree. And what are your thoughts, viewing law? It's great to have your perspective, coming into law and looking at it with, I guess, new eyes. What do you think some of the challenges are for law overall and how kind of the profession of law functions?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few. I mean, obviously with COVID, there's a lot of, I guess like the digitalization's kind of had to have a big step forward going through. And I think for courts, it's probably a big thing as well. And I think I personally think they've had the kind of, the means have been there, the processes have been available, and I think this has kind of given the extra push.
Yes.
And personally, I think it's good for accessibility to the courts and to law for a lot of people. But it does provide a lot of challenges. But moving on from kind of COVID-related things, I think that diversity and inclusion has been a huge topic of change going through the last few years, and even between when I started university and now, I've seen a huge change in industry, and it's looking really positive, and I think that will have big ramifications coming through. And I think just beyond the processes, I think law schools are creating, the diversity of students coming through law schools has been incredible to see. And I think that will make huge changes going into the industry in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, good to hear. Yeah, and as you've mentioned, it comes with some challenges, but equally some great opportunities. Yeah. So, Adriana, what advice would you give to a couple of groups? One, firstly, law students that are entering into law school or, first, second year, in your experience, what advice would you be giving them? And then the second group, advice to those who've been in law and practiced law for quite some time, so two ends of the continuum. What advice or thoughts would you give to both of those groups?
I think to both groups, just kind of be ready to adapt to change and kind of front foot it. I think there's so much change coming in so many different forms, whether it's because of COVID or the diversity of the legal industry, or even looking forward into how we're going to resolve climate change disputes and handle litigation, with climate change becoming a much more of a, immediate impact at the moment. I think for students at both ends of that spectrum, it's going to be a huge thing going forward. And I think for students coming into law school, I think a lot of students are doing, more conjoint degrees. They're widening their scope. I think law's becoming more of an add-on degree as opposed to the degree that you kind of take first and then have something to back up it. I think a lot of students are seeing it as more of a kind of knowledge base at this point, to go forward into so many different areas of their careers. So yeah, I think just adapting to change and being open to all the opportunities that will probably come up in the next few years.
Great. And then for you personally, what are some of your sort of personal hopes and things that you'd like to do and achieve?
I definitely think that for myself, I'd love to be involved in just the changing of the law in terms of, the issues around climate change coming through and carbon emissions. I think the policy side of that really strikes my interest. So that will be where I'll be heading at some point in my career in the future. And I'm really excited about how that's going to all be seen through.
Great. Hey, well, look, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you for the time and great insights. I agree. I think it's an exciting time as well as, look, certainly it's been an interesting year, but things that you've highlighted. The community is really important, how we support each other and work through this.
Definitely. I think, a lot of positives have come out of it for sure.
And as to pick up on what you're saying, the true concept of diversity and inclusion, how do we embrace that? That's the richness and do that more than just on a surface or a policy level. How do we get that truly through kind of behavioural change? And so, hey, thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's people like yourself that are going to help us forge ahead in these areas. So keep doing what you're doing.
Cheers. Thank you very much for this.
Thanks, Adriana. Great to see you. And that's us signing off.
Sure.